The King of Rio has finally stepped down from the octagon ring. A decision loss to Dvalishvili at UFC 278 led José Aldo Jr., arguably the best 145-pound fighter to ever grace the planet, to decide to call it quits on one of the greatest and most illustrious MMA careers to ever be witnessed. But José Aldo shouldn't be known just as the King of Rio, but perhaps as the King of MMA. And we have a compelling list of reasons to back it up. Are you intrigued? Before we actually delve in, why don't you guys check to see if that subscribe button is grayed out, and of course smash that like button and share this video while you're down there. Don't forget to turn on post notifications so that you can be the first to view our fresh videos. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the top 5 reasons why José Aldo deserves to be recognized as an MMA GOAT. Let's first take a look at the humble beginnings of Junior. On September 9, 1986 in Manaus, Brazil, a boy by the name of José Aldo was born. A story we all know is how Aldo has a permanent scar on the left side of his face, as when he was a baby he was dropped into a grill. He was passionate about football his entire adolescence and aspired to play professionally. His father encouraged him to pursue his goals, but he also grew weary of being assaulted in street battles and began training in capoeira, a Brazilian art form that combines elements of martial arts, dance, acrobatics, music, and spirituality to learn how to better defend oneself in altercations. After the courses, Aldo used to practice capoeira on the streets, where he once caught the eye of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor. Aldo accepted his invitation to try one jiu-jitsu class, and after that class, he decided to start training in jiu-jitsu instead of capoeira. And this led us to our first reason, which is that number 5, José Aldo is the greatest anti-wrestler in MMA history. Brazilian wrestler José Aldo lacks any formal training in the sport. However, the Brazilian managed to create the most effective defensive wrestling method in MMA history. Nearly 20 years ago in 2004, José Aldo made his MMA debut. Anyone who has been involved in fighting for that long usually faces opponents who have developed a fighting style and strategy specifically to defeat them. However, over the course of 39 fights and an 18-year career, Aldo's takedown defense remained unbeatable. José Aldo faced numerous top-tier wrestlers and even a judoka during his reign as the featherweight champion of the WEC and the UFC. Frankie Edgar, Chad Mendes, Ricardo Lamas, and Uriah Faber all fell short in their attempts to defeat the Brazilian. José Aldo was able to avoid Manny Gamburian's judo attacks. Even years later, with mountains of fight footage documenting Aldo's defensive grappling, Dvalishvili was able to take down the Scarface in any of his 16 efforts. Technically speaking, Aldo showed off a fantastic sprawl. He broadened his base, thrust his hips back, and snapped the weight of his upper body into the back of his opponent's neck. He rarely knees it though. Instead, José Aldo swiftly looped his arm over one of the adversary's arms in response to takedown attempts. The Brazilian converted a double leg takedown into a single leg takedown by overhooking his opponent's arm and moving sideways to feed his hip to his adversary. Aldo then released his arm, pushed his opponent's head down to his ankle, and sprung free of their clutches, and he would retire with a takedown defense rate of 91%. Number 4. Groundbreaking low kicks. Despite the development of MMA striking during José Aldo's career, there is a reason why his low kicks were so effective. The Brazilian was renowned for his thunderous kicks. Aldo brutalized the Team Alpha male founder's legs with thundering low kicks when they first met. Years later, despite having so much tape on it, nobody had found a way to halt his low kicks. To prevent his opponents from blocking his low kicks, the legendary UFC featherweight did 2 things. First, Aldo took care to avoid telegraphing his kicks like other skilled low kickers may. Hard low kickers frequently step into kicks, using the momentum of the step to produce a lot of force. Unfortunately, coming in to receive a low kick makes the kick obvious.
That's just nasty. It's perfect.
Fighters develop their ability to anticipate low kicks by anticipating the opponent's next move whenever they were within kicking distance. And here's the Einstein-level secret. Aldo moved his hips into low kicks instead of moving forward, utilizing the torque created to increase the force of his kicks. The Brazilian made it harder to anticipate his low kicks by not moving forward. Just take a look at this clip that shows off his classic low kick.
I mean, look at that. If that's not...
José Aldo drops Peter Yan with a leg kick. Number 3. José Aldo challenged the MMA convention. Yep, in legendary Uno reverse fashion, José Aldo has completely gone against the norms of MMA, highlighting the GOAT within. Since he began competing in 2004, José Aldo has witnessed how the mixed martial arts genre has changed over time. MMA has seen various periods of time defining traditions throughout its history. As wall walking has evolved into the current defensive wrestling meta, calf kicks currently make up the striking meta in MMA. Aldo has successfully flouted societal norms regardless of the century he has lived in. Aldo was almost tough to the calf kick even though they had calf kicks. Numerous competitors found it difficult to counter calf kicks. But the Brazilian's fight with Pedro Munhoz served as a masterclass in how to do it. In order to block the lower, thinner part of the kicking leg shin with the upper, thicker part of the defending leg, one must raise their leg and turn it toward the incoming kick. Aldo used a variety of strategies to stop calf kicks, but one of his legendary techniques was to simply withdraw his heel to the back of his thigh, causing his opponent's calf kick to completely miss his leg and swing through empty space, throwing them horribly off position. José Aldo's flawless calf kick defense against Pedro Munhoz. Aldo's opponent would be in a great position to be struck over the top while only having one foot on the ground. The former champion also faked the jab as a strategy. Since a successful jab requires a fighter to move forward, the calf kick developed as a counter to the jab. By doing this, the fighter's stance is widened and the lead leg is exposed to low kicks. Aldo therefore faked the jab, pulled back his leg, and countered his opponent with a punch over the top to draw out calf kicks. Because of this, José Aldo was able to continue boxing despite everyone else's difficulties in the period of calf kicks. His opponents were timid and quit kicking him altogether after missing a few calf kicks and being countered. Imagine having players completely change their techniques while they step into the ring just to last at least a few minutes against you. Yikes. Number 2. Aldo's success against multiple generations of the world's best fighters. Numerous outstanding fighters have arisen over the history of MMA, writing their stories into the annals of the sport. Many famous mixed martial artists, however, ran into trouble when they had to compete with up-and-coming competitors who used more advanced and sophisticated fighting techniques. Due to the abundance of films on the older generation, skilled new fighters enter the sport and succeed while competing against them. These young boxers perform less impressively when they face opponents from their own generation. As sports science advances, the current generation of fighters not only has film from previous generations, but they are also typically bigger and more athletic. José Aldo is the GOAT who evolved with the evolution of sport. He won the WEC Championship in 2009, and he was still a title contender for a decade more. And at number 1, the most featherweight title defenses in UFC history. The most successful featherweight in UFC history is José Aldo. For a while, the only featherweight champion in the promotion's narrative was Scarface. Conor McGregor eventually overthrew him at UFC 194, but his legacy still lives on. During his 3 years as the featherweight champion, Aldo successfully defended his title 7 times in a row. In addition to placing him among the top 5 champions in the UFC in terms of consecutive title defenses, the Brazilian's record of defeated opponents includes a winning streak over elite opposition. Mark Hominick was in the midst of a 5-fight winning streak when Aldo beat him. Another Aldo victim, Kenny Florian, is recognized as one of the greatest fighters who never won a UFC championship. Aldo twice defeated former UFC lightweight champion Frankie Edgar. In a similar vein, Aldo twice defeated Chad Mendes. Prior to his first match with the Brazilian, the 3-time title contender Mendes had an unblemished record. Last but not least, Ricardo Lamas and Chan Sung Jung also lost to Aldo despite being on winning streaks of their own. Aldo has successfully defended his title more times than any other UFC featherweight, yet he hasn't faced opponents from different eras. Even though Alexander Volkanovski has currently made 4 straight title defenses, his legacy is still behind juniors. According to fellow Brazilian featherweight Herbert Burns, José Aldo is a legend of the sport, and in my opinion, the greatest Brazilian in MMA. And with that, we have come to the end of our list and this video. If you enjoyed it, please do let us know by leaving a like. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and post notifications, and leave a comment telling us what you think. We'll see you in the next sizzling video. Until then, goodbye for now.